G'day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. So in this video we are going to take a look at the latest EZA that's coming to DBZ Dokkan Battle Global, and that is for the SS3 Physical Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. So he has improved to 130% physical type lead or super physical type lead with 3 key. He has immense damage and lowest defense on his 9 key. On 11 key, he is super effective against all types, which is very good. And on his 12 key, he is greatly raises attack and lowers defense. Then he has attack and defense plus 150%, plus an additional attack and 70%, defense 30%, and a 30% chance to evade enemy attacks for 7 turns from the start of battle. In terms of build, I think you should definitely build into crit on this unit. If you are able to control getting his 11 key very well, if you're one of those people, or you're running him in a team where he won't have a lot of key, or you don't link level him, basically you should then go for additional, but it's not really ideal. You definitely always want to go crit on this guy. It's one of those things, he doesn't really do much with additionals, he doesn't raise his defense or anything, so you're going to want to go crit. Then link wise, we have a decent link set. We have some SS3 links, Limit Breaking Form, Over in a Flash, Super Saiyan, and then we also have some youth links, Budding Warrior, The Innocents. So we have a mixed bag, but pretty decent for the teams that he's supposed to be on. Youth is one of his strongest categories. SS3 he greatly buffs, and then Majin Buu Saga he's pretty helpful on. He has a lot of categories though, which means that we have a lot of choice. Fusion teams will like him, the Int Gotenks will like him as well, and overall he's a solid option. But the team that's going to love him the most is going to be the SS3 team. That's where he's going to really shine and do his best work, mainly due to the fact that that has the least amount of units. It's pretty much one of the weaker categories, and any buffs to existing units in that category are always going to be super crucial. It's still one of the harder SBRs just through the fact that there's not a lot of SS3 characters out there. So Gotenks is really going to help. Physical didn't really need the help. But Gotenks is still a really good card. So I have him at 55%. That will be the unit we are taking a look at today. And we're just going to take a look at him under the youth team. And then we'll just take a look at him under the Majin Buu Saga team, just to get a rough idea of how well he does. We will be pairing him pretty much with this Gotenks the entire time. They do share 4 links once the Int Gotenks transforms, which is pretty good. He doesn't really share a lot of links with any unit, barring the SS3 version of the Int Gotenks. Obviously that Int Gotenks does take a little bit of time to get his transformation, which, you know, is somewhat of a factor into this physical Gotenks. The fact that you can't have like a super mega linking buddy for him right off the bat is a little bit bumming, but 4 links is still good, and he'll, you know, do perfectly fine. He's going to do a lot of damage, and I think at 55% he's going to look really good. I think he benefits from dupes, but the only flaw really in this Gotenks is the fact that he doesn't have a defense raising mechanic. Even a single turn defense raising mechanic would really help this guy out. But because of that, he has good defense, especially for a 55% unit, but he doesn't have the kind of defense that's going to allow him to go toe to toe with some of the super ultra mega long term event stages, more so than things like ESBR. But yeah, we'll take a look here. As you can see, 4 links activated, 107k defense. Very good for a 55% card. We won't be able to control getting his 11 key or anything like that, and we'll just take a look at how he does. He has no support here, so we're just going to get a good attack stat number, and 3.3 million is pretty damn good. But yeah, beyond obviously the raw attack stat number, he does bring a lot of utility to the table. He lowers defense, which is okay on his super attack. He has a effective against all types option for himself. He has the ability to dodge as well at 30%, which, isn't the highest amount, but coupled with his other abilities is pretty good. And yeah, he's got a really good kit. I think he is, one of those units that can give you a little bit of everything that you need to kind of fill out your team. And I think his high damage is really, really a good pairing alongside what would be his best partner, this Int Gotenks. Because Int Gotenks, once he transforms, has multiple attacks. He's got stunning. He's got a good amount of defense as well in his Super Saiyan form. And I think having him as a frontline pairing tank for this physical Gotenks, this physical SS3 in the first slot, is really going to be just a top-notch combination. I think it's going to do a lot of damage. I think it's going to look really good. So we don't have the support buff active here, unfortunately, but we are sitting at 107k still. Really, really good for a 55%. Remember, obviously, for 55% cards, they have a lot of extra defense locked away behind the stat increase. So it's definitely one of those things that you want to keep in mind. We're going to get the 12 key again, and we'll just see how he does here. We would like to have, obviously, some kind of buff for him, but it's still a good idea. 3.3 seems to be the mark at his 12 key at least, with no support, 4 links active. It's pretty good. He's not link leveled either. His link levels are very attack orientated. They don't feature heavy amounts of defense or anything like that. You will get a little bit from raising his link levels. Like for example, we could, if we maxed out the link levels of this card, instead of 107k, probably sitting closer to 110k, around that area. But nothing too crazy in terms of defensive links. In terms of offensive links, really good. A lot of his links all over the place are just offensively minded. Super Saiyan, the Innocence, Budding Warrior, Limit Breaking Form, all attack orientated. So you could definitely see that attack rise from the 3.3 million mark that we've been seeing, and it's been sitting at. You could definitely see that kind of increase, I should say, over time. But yeah, some pretty good performance so far. Obviously, if we're looking at the unit, in isolation at 55%, I think he's definitely worth it. I think he's worth the hassle. He's definitely a card you're going to want to easier. If you have a dupe or two in him, even better. He's definitely the kind of unit where I think one dupe is going to elevate him quite substantially. Not only will it raise his defense into that kind of lower 100k range rather than barely breaking into the 100k range, but it's also going to really just change his offense output. It's going to make him go from 3.3 to 4 million off the bat. He's going to have that extra chance to crit, which is really great. And yeah, just overall, it's a single dupe's going to be the kind of thing that takes this card from, yeah, he's good, I'll definitely run him, to like, hell yeah, I want to run this card. Obviously, rainbow version of this card is going to be fantastic. One of the better units in the game. It's going to do a hell of a lot of damage. So, yeah. But so far, we've seen some pretty good stuff. We do have him paired up here under the Majin Buu Saga team, which obviously gives us the TN, who is going to be sitting as our support. And with that support, we are sitting in the 120s already. So as you can see, a single dupe with support, he'd be sitting in the 130s, 140s, which is a good mark to sit at. It's definitely a powerful unit. It's a good defensive score. And then now, obviously, the aim is to get the 11 key as much as possible. Because by getting the 11 key, we're going to be able to have attacks effective against all types, and that's really going to help us with just lowering the amounts of effort and work, that we have to put into stages, because he is going to reduce their health quite substantially. But we do, obviously, one thing that is, with Gotenks, his link set's not entirely designed to be the smoothest key-wise, and it's to give you some more control. If he had like 3 or 4 key links alone, it would be impossible to control getting his 11 key, which is why they don't, give a lot of these units that have these kind of things, especially since they go 10s. They don't give them a lot of key avenues, so to say. They don't, like all these units that have selective 11 keys and that, they like you to have the ability still. So they do definitely factor that in mind. Gotenks' damage increase is significant when you get that effective against all types. A 3.6 million attack goes from being 3.6 all the way up to being a 5.4, and that's just worth way more than that kind of level of base damage, and that's from attacks effective against all types. So here, obviously, we are a little bit unfortunate in that we didn't get the buff for the unit, but we'll take a look at how they do anyway, and see if we can control the 11 key here, because that's going to be a pretty good exercise to do. I think if you get lucky and you get the 11 key, you'll definitely be able to do more damage and control your output. We'll definitely be able to do more damage because of the attacks effective against all types. It's just going to help you a lot in the stages in general. One thing I think that they did add in, which I think maybe they could have made a little bit higher, considering the fact that he's got no defensive raising mechanisms, is I definitely think they could have maybe given him even just a 40% evasion for 7 turns, or maybe a 50% evasion for 7 turns. I know his defense is very, very good, especially once you have a couple dupes. I know that his damage is outrageous, it's very impressive. But I do think that would have helped the unit, especially since it's only for a certain amount of turns. I think it does help, or at least maybe once the defensive and the attack buff dropped after 7 turns, they could have maybe made the evasion kick back up. I know it's supposed to represent the fusion mechanic of 30 minutes, but yeah, I just think... personally, I think it's something that would have made the unit stay a little bit longer, or kind of be more effective in the long run overall. Just one of those things. But so far so good. The unit looks very impressive. He's been above 100k defense the entire time. When he's had support, he's looked fantastic. Great attack stats, 3.3, 3.7. Attack effective against all types on a lot of them. So yeah, a couple evasions as well. So honestly, not anything to complain about. For 55%, it's a shoo-in. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this card at 55%. It is a card that you are going to want. If you have this card, you are going to want to awaken this card, because it is a killer card. It is really good, really solid, really good performance, great attack stats. We've seen a couple dodges as well. We've seen its defense sitting at a good point. So I think, yeah, overall, not going to be a single complaint from me. I'm very happy with this EZA. I'm very impressed with how it's all come out. And yeah, I'm regretting not having dupes in the card. And I think if there's anything that's a testament to a good EZA, it's you wanting more dupes in that card, because that's the nature of the game. They want you to summon, they want you to keep summoning to get dupes in cards, and when they do EZAs, it's so that you can spend on ineffective EZA banners. And that's the reason why, because they want these cards to entice you to do so due to their power spike. So it's definitely something... it's definitely something. I think he's good. I think he's good. I don't have any problems with him. But it's definitely a card worth getting. But as you can see here, we've got the transformation with the int Gotenks. So now we're sitting at a really cool 6 key links. 6 links. The problem with that is now we obviously have a lot of key links activated. So now we pretty much impossible to get the 12 key. But it's okay. The dual power of having the 2 SS3 Gotenks far outweighs the output of just having the 11 key. But it's still obviously something you need to bear in mind, that if you are planning on running both Gotenks and for some reason you are constantly doing events where the Gotenks continues to go SS3, then the trade-off is well worth it. They're both going to do crazy damage. The extra links, especially if you get them to level 10, means both are going to just output a whole bunch more, because they pretty much are matching spot on then. And SS3 Gotenks is always a treat. He is one of the strongest cards, if not still one of the strongest cards in the game. So very, very impressive. And yeah, so far the numbers we've seen are good. 3.3 to 3.7 million attack stats. Option of both of them being attack effective against all type. 107k, 106k defense without support. Close to 130 with support. So yeah, honestly, I am impressed. I'm more than happy with the card. I think he's well worth it. And yeah, we'll take a look now at some of the units that link really well with him. And just, which units you can use or what kind of teams you can build with him. So as said before, I think he's definitely thrives the most on a youth or a SS3 team. But he definitely can work on Fusion, and he can work on Majin Buu Saga. His number one running mate is going to be the int Gotenks. I know it doesn't look like he has the best links off the bat, but overall they have the best linking set. And it's definitely the pairing you're going to want to go with, due to the stun, the effective against all types, etc, etc. Right now though, you can see the units that have fused fighter over in a flash. These units are going to be pretty good. Super Saiyan as well. These units are going to be pretty good for him. Vegito and him, a lot of them, they're on Final Trump card together. Otherwise they're obviously on Fusion together. Some are even on Majin Buu Saga together. So yeah, definitely good solid options to link with my man there. Then if we take a look at limit breaking form, we start to obviously look at the Super Saiyan 3 team, and like I say, he is a critical piece for that team, especially now that he's closed the ECA. He's one of the few SS3 cards in the game, and he really, really helps out a thin pool of units. Really helps out in terms of that team and just its pool of selectable units. But other than that, obviously now just taking a look at, or taking a look back at the units that you can really link with. I mean, it's going to be difficult. Like I say, there's not a lot of, there's not a Gotenks SS2 or something, or Gotenks SS, barring the int one, that really links too well with him. They do need to hopefully bring out a new card that links well with him, but beyond the ones we've shown you already, those are pretty much going to be the number one options. This int Gotenks is the number one option, so if you have them, they make a great pairing. But otherwise, even the Super Saiyan Trunks, Super Saiyan Goten, any Super Saiyan that's got over in a flash will do you a good job here. And that's pretty much all you're going to need for him. You're not too concerned about having too much ki, because he can fire super attacks from a low point, but you want to try and get that 11 ki as much as possible. So yeah, it's definitely not an issue. The more attack links you can get with him, the better it's going to be overall. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of Gotenks. I think we've seen everything we need to see in terms of Gotenks. I think we've seen everything that we want to see from him. He's not shown anything poor. He's only shown exceptional performance. His buff will disappear after 7 turns, which is a slight bummer, but other than that, he's good to go. Just let me know in the comments how you found him, and I'll see you guys in the next video. But until then, cheers and bye.